Hey everybody, welcome back to OneRoomOver Gaming. Today I'm continuing my Let's Play of Crimson Gray, Dusk, and Dawn. And last time I played this, we were getting through the preparations for Francesca, whoever, to come down because she's opposing Koitek. She's a human rights activist, and it's good stuff. But it stresses Lizzie out, so let's see where it goes. Life proceeded normally enough. A significant part of campus was busy preparing for the arrival, but there were even more people who didn't know or didn't care. But it mattered to John, so it mattered to Lizzie. Lizzie had joined him in spending time with preparations, and it seemed to go well. She was glad to see John invested in something like this. But when she came home from class one day, she realized she might have gotten it entirely wrong. Oh, he looks sad. He looks really sad. John slumped on the couch, too unfocused to notice her. There was an emptiness in his eyes that she hadn't seen in some time, immediately making her heart hammer in her chest. She's going to cut that unhappiness right out of him. John, are you okay? There's something wrong. I'm just a little tired. There's not a problem or anything. Of course there's a problem. If you're not feeling okay, let me hammer it out of you. You don't have to pretend to smile for me, John. It's okay to be sad sometimes. Now he's surprised. And now he's mildly amused. Thank you, Lizzie. It's nothing specific. I'm just having a bad day. Then stay right there and don't worry about anything. She skipped closer and gave him a quick hugging kiss, but didn't try to press. Instead, she moved on into the kitchen, getting something simmering. When John was depressed, he didn't want to eat. She had learned that trying to force it could turn bad, but the smell would slowly get through to him. We're gonna bait him into eating with the smell of boiling water. While doing her work, Lizzie headed into their bathroom and counted his depression medication. It didn't seem like he had forgotten or that he had taken more than usual, which was good, but though his medication helped, it couldn't make his life perfect. Nothing good. There had been a time when she had desperately hoped that she could do that. She still wished that she could, but she knew that his sadness didn't mean that he didn't love her. All she could do was be supportive. When she came back out, he had slumped back further, but she saw a bit more relaxation in his posture. Suddenly her heart ached with love for him so intense that she had to support herself on the door frame. That's some heavy love that's about to knock you off your feet. She didn't deserve him. He was always so supportive, so kind, even when it cost him. It was easy to just bask in his presence, to see him as a shining paragon. But her John was a human, had limited resources. If she had missed the signs, as she sometimes did, one of Lizzie's fingers slipped to her mouth and she started to bite down on it. But she pulled back. John wouldn't want her to do that. Instead, she moved into the room, determined to give back this time. She checked on the soup, then went to sit beside him, just touching his side a little, being present without demanding anything of him. John smiled at her but didn't say anything. It was a quiet smile that faded into sadness, but she loved it too. She would love John if he was covered in poop and would never shower. These incidents always magnified her love for him. She didn't love his depression, but when he was like this... Okay, he seemed... Oh, that's a comma. Sorry, I thought that was a period. Weird place to end the sentence, but whatever. But when he was like this, he seemed so truly real that she couldn't take her eyes off of him. Lizzie restrained herself and just sat supportively. After a time, though, she shifted. Later on, maybe they could eat, but until then... Do you need to talk about anything? Do you need a nap? I'll be okay. I think I just overextended myself preparing for Kelsey's visit. Francesca Kelsey! That's her last name. Oh, I haven't been pushing you too much, have I? Like when we worked together... I liked when we worked together before, so... No, I didn't mean that at all. There's just so much to do. But you don't have to do it all, remember? Don't push too hard. You're right. Thanks, Lizzie. Lizzie thought that their conversation had gone well, but she was plagued by doubt. She hadn't noticed this depression incoming, hadn't been able to prevent it. She began going over every interaction in minute detail, wondering where she had neglected something. Lizzie realized that she needed to get out of her head. If she let herself keep thinking that way, she would end up spending the evening developing elaborate plans to kill someone or kidnap John to safety. She needed to do something, but what? Oh, am I making a choice? Be quietly supportive, or talk about issues. We're going to be quiet and supportive. That feels like a good thing to do. Lizzie decided that it was her turn to carry him. She doted on him for the rest of the evening, getting everything he needed, eating with him when he got hungry, and staying close. When they finally went to sleep, she held him gently, glad to see some of the tension finally easing from his face. He actually fell asleep beside her in a way that he hadn't in some time. Sometimes when somebody, sometimes you can't just talk the issues to death. You can't talk them out. You can talk about them, but that's not just going to make them magically better. Sometimes it's just better to just let somebody deal with their own stuff in their own way. That's not, if they're just dealing with it and it's not harmful. Sometimes people need to think, sometimes they just need silence. People are so damn scared of silence. Don't be scared of silence. It can be pretty great. It can be enjoyable. Sometimes we just need silence. I got an achievement for being supportive. Look at that crazy supportive smile. That's a supportive face up there. Once he was asleep, Lizzie let herself stare at him without trying to hide anything in her gaze, drinking him in. This was her John. She had to protect him. As she fell asleep, Lizzie settled on another thought. This visit might be a good thing, but she would be very glad when it was over. Alright, so we had a quiet day of depression. Everybody needed some rest. When the day finally came, it wasn't grand as all the buildup had left Lizzie to expect. It was just another speaker coming to campus, after all, and as one of the better universities in the region, they got plenty of speakers. The growing power of pharmaceuticals was a somewhat hot topic, but it was hardly a source of celebrity. Her expectations had been tempered by John's attitude, though. Aaron and some of the other organizers were exhilarated, as if a visit from guest speaker would change everything, but as usual, he was more reserved. It was one of the things that made his love for her so special, and she loved it as part of him. The low-key nature of the entire thing did a lot to calm her anxiety, though Lizzie had filled many pages of her notebook with plans in the event of an attack. From whom, I don't know, probably Koitek, but given that this was one stop on a long speaking tour, it seemed less likely that Koitek would actually try anything. They were headed out to attend soon, and though it was going to be casual as most events on campus, Lizzie had dressed up a little out of habit. She lingered by the cabinet trying to select which weapons to take along with her. The problem was that she had room for so few. Her axe, of course, but the knives were always a problem. What? Why? How? What are you wearing that you can take an axe without it being visibly noticed, but the knives being, are you wearing a potato sack? What, you got a dress with an axe compartment? I don't understand. Whatever. Ready to go, Lizzie? Almost, John. Just let me pick a knife and I'll be with... Just let me get my knife things in order, Lizzie. Elizabeth F. Crazy knife. I don't know. Yeah, just let me get my knife. Okay? Sometimes people gotta pick out their knives. That's alright. Get a knife. He leans against the nearby wall, watching her thoughtfully as she chose. After a moment, he spoke slowly. I'm just wondering, would you be happy if Kelsey managed to destroy Koitek somehow? Of course, it's a terrible company. It gave you that awful drug and tried to take us apart. But she isn't going to destroy it. Just regulate it. Maybe things will get better, but I want revenge. What are you going to do? You going to go blow up every Koitek compartment? You know. Just because they were... I'm not saying they weren't evil. We were all there for the last game. They're bad. They did some shady stuff. But there is a dude probably working in accounting who's just like a normal guy, just has a family and wants to make his money and probably isn't happy where he works, but, paychecks don't print themselves out, so, not everybody from Koitek needs to die. Maybe a few people, not everybody. I meant destroy in a metaphorical sense, dismantle the corporation. You're more thinking leveling it to the ground? Blood and flames. Yeah, that's Lizzie's blood and flames, ride or die. Straight to the finish. Lizzie answered happily and finally picked a slender knife. A good balance of range, heavy enough to be durable, but thin enough to augment her axe with stabbing potential. She set it into its place and turned to him. But I don't mind things like this. Anything that works against them is good. And though I don't want you to hurt yourself, I'm happy that you care about this so much. But if there was some way to leave them intact, but ensure they never bothered us again... I'd take it, of course. You're the most important thing. Shit! I missed one. She leaned forward to give him a kiss, letting this one linger. Might be their last until the serious event was over, so she wanted to enjoy it. Not that she minded waiting. It made the next kiss when they came together again all the sweeter. I just wanted to say that you're the most important thing to me, too. Sorry if I seem preoccupied by all this. Sorry if I hiccup in the middle of a sentence. And yawn. Maybe I'll just puke. Well, we're at it too. Just get a whole range of weird stuff going on here. No, it's fine. I like to see you focus on the things you love. Well, I don't take you for granted. I hope I never do. Oh, John, if you keep talking like that, we won't make it to the event. He chuckled and offered her his arm, which she gladly accepted. They headed out to the hall to hear the speech. Hey, look, a new place! We got a new big room to look at. They arrived and found the hall surprisingly full, almost enough to make her wish they'd arrived earlier. But it would be fine. Aaron waved to them near the front, but those seats were already full, so they took ones near the back. I was actually kind of expecting this to be happening outside. It just seems like... I don't know. Seems like speeches given outside are a little bit more casual. Speeches given inside are almost more like lectures. It's good to see our work wasn't wasted, at least. Lots of people seem interested. Lots of people from the community, too. Ah, we've got more than just college students. Doesn't surprise me. Koitek may not have any direct presence here, but they manufacture some drugs. People have to know about them. Yeah, I'm guessing people take them. Otherwise, they wouldn't be in business. Lizzie reached out to hold his hand while they waited for things to get started. He took it and chatted casually with her until it was finally time. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it. Come on, I want to hear a speech. Let's go. I want to hear some stuff. After some awkward testing at the mic and a squeal of feedback, the Dean managed to quiet people down. Though he gave an introduction to Francesca Kelly, Lizzie wasn't able to focus on it. She already knew the information, and it was essentially just a formality anyway. Yes, that is a formality. It's a thing people do. More importantly, Lizzie looked out for the woman herself and found her seated near the front. She looked just like her pictures. Nothing out of the ordinary, but Lizzie shifted her gaze between her and the exits, just to be sure. You never know when the stormtroopers are going to come in. When Francesca Kelsey took the stage, Lizzie surreptitiously shot a glance at John. But she had been wrong to worry. He had shifted to his purely focus mode, interested only in what she had to say. Not what she had to wear, not what she looked like, just what she said. Francesca Kelsey says, on my first day of work at the FDCA, my supervisor said I should look for another job because the organization wouldn't be needed for long. Oh, how wrong he was! She was a good speaker, though her speech had the feeling of one that had been repeated a huge number of times. It had an air of authenticity, but it was practiced authenticity. Lizzie could only focus on it in the background anyway. While listening idly, Lizzie came to a realization, something she had never said to John, probably something she should discuss with him. She squirmed a little in her seat, wondering what thoughts he might have about it, but she couldn't interrupt. Some people might have said Koitek created her, with the ill-advised experiment when Abby was pregnant. Lizzie had never felt that way until now, had not reflected on the fact. Now she understood why. I don't understand what? The experiment might have made her different from other girls, but Lizzie doesn't care about that. What mattered to her was the person she was now, shaped by her years growing up, and most importantly shaped by John. Her world had felt so hollow and empty, and then when she found him, she'd been monomaniacal in her focus on him. But he had opened up a new world of possibilities for her, of hope. Unable to contain herself, Lizzie leaned over and kissed John on the cheek. He blinked in surprise and then smiled at her. Resting her head against his shoulder, Lizzie let her focus drift back to her speech for a moment. So she realized that Koitek basically was responsible for her being the way she was, and that in some strange way it was because of Koitek that she is who she is and met John how she did. She just kind of came to that like weird fate coincidence thing that people sometimes stop and think about. The industry's lobbyists would have you believe that their self-regulation has been and will continue to be effective. The primary example that is always brought up is how thalidomide was kept out of the United States and so many children were spared birth defects. Alright, but as I demonstrate thoroughly in my book, this was more a quirk of fate than self-regulation, and that thin layer of defense will not be remotely adequate given the massive increase in research and development we've seen over the past 2 decades. Oh, she's here to sell a book, is she? Most notably, many of the newest drugs being produced treat conditions that are fundamentally subjective. Their consequences, if any, will take years to emerge and may not always be clearly defined as birth defects. It may take years before you find out that the girl is crazy. Make no mistake, there are people alive today bearing the scars of this unchecked research. Sooner or later, they will come forward. Shit, it's almost like she's speaking right to Lizzie. Lizzie sat tensely, deciding to hold in her concerns over that development, but John had already considered that. He squeezed her hand and bent closer to whisper to her, "Are you all right? John, would you want me to step forward and do that? Do you want me to out myself as an experiment, baby?" "No." His answer came immediately. Lizzie was a little surprised, and John seemed to have taken himself aback, but a moment later he smiled. "No, you matter more to me than all of this. Anyone who stepped forward would be surrounded by a horrible amount of controversy. I want you here with me." Her smile widened and Lizzie leaned in to kiss him, tears in her eyes. She had so many things she wanted to say to him, but some people around them were already glaring at their whispering. When the two of them kissed, most of the glarers rolled their eyes and turned away. Fucking calm down. We're not at a movie. It's a speech. People are allowed to talk. Some people take notes. Would you yell if someone was taking notes and you heard their pen scratching paper? Calm down. Jesus. The speech ended with Francesca's usual conclusion. The FDCA was toothless compared to the pharmaceutical giants, and the world needed far more comprehensive set of regulations. Part of Lizzie's mind acknowledged that is true, but it seemed a very distant and clinical thought compared to the warmth inside of her. After the speech, the floor was open to questions, which drew their attention away from each other. This was the part John was most interested in, and after all, Lizzie agreed with him that they were more likely to hear new information during that part. Yeah. The first person to the mic asked a boring, generic question about what students could do in the face of giant companies. She also had a flirtatious walk, so Lizzie scowled at her for both reasons. Oh my god. Soon, though, Aaron was at the mic to ask his question. Aaron, you covered the potential impact on the United States well, but only spoke in vague terms about the need for international regulations. What impact do you expect the rise of pharmaceutical giants to have on the global South? It was a question Lizzie hadn't given much thought. She reflected that Aaron was always caring about impoverished and disadvantaged people. That was not a trait Lizzie shared, but looking at it objectively, she decided that it was a good form of kindness. She appreciated kindness in John, so she should give Aaron some credit as well. Outside of her mind, Francesca paused for only a moment before answering. Her response was smooth, but it lacked the practiced air of her speech. Any large corporation is going to have a global impact, of course, and we'll see it especially in the rainforests and in the mineral-rich countries. Needless to say, those relationships will be exploitative. But I think we should be most suspicious of the actions that actually seem most benevolent, specifically the ostensibly altruistic donations of drugs to various countries for free or produced at cost. For example, I have long believed that that's not even a Zaz Inc. is distributing insufficiently tested drugs and effectively using the supposed beneficiaries of their donations as test subjects. But there can be serious concerns even for well-intentioned attempts, such as the mental stimulants Menninger AG donated in sub-Saharan Africa. Mental stimulants. Why are we stimulating the mentals? They've had a positive impact on test scores, yes, but those drugs have serious long-term side effects when not taken according to a rigid schedule. Given the reality of the situation, both financial and personal, many recipients simply won't follow or even have a chance to follow the proper course. We'll be seeing consequences of that for years. So, because they can't afford to take it regularly, as tested in like a clinical trial where, you know, everything went fine as long as you took one pill every 12 hours for the rest of your goddamn life, everything seemed good. But if you can't do that, then maybe you're producing chemicals, and then all of a sudden you're not producing chemicals, and your brain has a fart. We all know. Lot of drug industry speech. I don't know if I'm playing a game or if I'm being pumped full of knowledge so I can go out there and fight the big companies. A decent question, fuck me, I can't read today, guys. If not one that held particular interest for her, Lizzie listened to a few more bad questions before she sensed a general movement in John's body and realized that he was getting up to ask a question of his own. She nodded to him and let go of his hand. Okay, this better be a damn good question. She listened in irritation as other people asked questions, but finally it was his turn. He cleared his throat nervously, but wasn't so uncomfortable as he might have been before. And then, as he got up to the mic, he probably said, "Francesca Kelsey, will you go out with me?" Or maybe this is the moment John's been waiting for. He's been a captive of Lizzie since the first game, right? Okay, I know this is not going to happen, but hear me out. Here's my wild conspiracy theory before we find out what John's question is. What if this is the time that John finally says, "Help me, the girl sitting next to me kidnapped me years ago, held me hostage at knife point, and then took down a corporation"? Wouldn't that be the twist that we're all waiting for? I doubt that it's going to be that exciting, though. Let's watch. For those of us who want to have a career in this field, where do you think we can make the most difference? What balance do you see between regulating from the outside and trying to change organizations from within? Not a bad question, though Lizzie found herself wondering just how much it mirrored his thought process. He had discussed his thoughts about the future with her, of course, but there was something different about hearing him state them out loud in front of so many people. It's a declaration! He's made his declaration clear. Maybe he wants to go into the field and make a difference. That could be a serious threat John could be a threat to Lizzie, if that's where he wants to go. A good question, but a difficult one. I'd like to believe that the best answer is the FDCA or another regulatory body, but I'm not sure I'd recommend someone who hasn't started their career go that direction. We'll see what happens with our lobbying over the next few years. As for reforming from within, I'm tempted to say that's impossible. Look at SoftSynth. It carried out the Japanese economy for a time, but now internal conflict is threatening long-term deflation. In my mind, the biggest threat is that corporations will lack meaningful competition and make it effectively impossible for anyone to regulate them. So honestly, what we might need it more than anyone is business majors. I got a laugh from the audience, but it struck Lizzie as a serious answer. John pondered it as well, his eyes contemplative as he returned to sit beside her. Lizzie was dying to know his thoughts, but for now she just smiled as he sat down beside her. None of the questions after that were particularly notable. Lizzie began to get nervous as their time ran out, since if something bad were to happen, it would likely happen toward the end. But nothing bad happened, and you made it outside. Yet it ended without incident, as every anxious situation of the years since the battle with Koitek operatives, but she was only slowly beginning to relax. If all those events had gone smoothly, maybe their wedding would as well, and if that was true, then what were they waiting for? Lizzie gazed towards John as they headed out, pondering the thought. So there's a lot of big questions that are going to need to be answered. This playthrough that I'm doing right now, because I'm going to stop it right here. I'm not ready for all the answers just yet, but there is a lot of big questions being posed, since we're in a kind of a peacetime between all the crazy events that happened last game, and possibly all the crazy events that could shake up their future. The questions are, is John planning for the future? Does he want to go into pharmaceuticals and does he want to get more involved in trying to change how things happen? And if so, what kind of negative impact could that bring from the pharmaceutical industry, especially Koitek, considering that Lizzie is kind of like strangely almost like a piece of property that they had. She's like a liability that they created, so they should need to know where she is, and they might still be looking for her. And then also, what would happen if they were to get married? Would it be good? Would it be bad? Like, this future, all these big questions could could really bring these two apart. They could rip these two to shreds if they're not careful. A lot of times is what happens, when nothing, what is the word I'm looking for? When nothing, like, tumultuous is happening, when people are just sitting idly, things go fine, but when people want to make big decisions and, when changes are being discussed, that can really have an impact on people's relationships. That can be the thing that'll tear them up. So, lots of questions, but we still need answers. But I'm out of time for right now, so we're going to have to get them next time. But thank you guys, everybody, for coming back to OneRoomOver Gaming, and thank you for watching. And I'm glad that everyone who's watching is enjoying the series so far. So, until next time, you guys know where I'll be. I'll be right here, OneRoomOver, playing games for you. And that's it. I'm out of here. So you guys take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Have a good day. Have a good night. And I'll see you all soon. All right. Bye, everyone.